Three contractors were visiting the White House at the same time. One from New York, one from Florida, and one from Missouri. At the end of the tour, the leader, who also was in charge of the grounds and maintenance, asked them what they did for a living. And they said they were contractors. And the guy said, great. You know, we've got a little problem in the back of the White House. There's an area there that we'd like to have fixed. Would you guys like to take a look at it? And they said, sure. And he says, what would you estimate something like this would cost? And so the first contractor from Florida said, well, let me take a look at it. And so he goes out and he measures everything with his tape measure and notes and takes notes, and he comes back and he says, I can do this job for $900. $400 for materials, $400 from my crew, and $100 for me. Then he asked a fellow from Missouri. And so the fellow from Missouri went over there and he checked it out, measured everything, came back and said, I can do this job for $700. $300 for materials, $300 for my crew, $100 for me. Wow, that's good. And then while those two men were over there, he asked the third man from New York. And he said, what would you estimate it as? And immediately said $2,700. $2,700, you didn't even measure anything. How can you come up with a figure that so quick? And the New York contractor said, easy. $1,000 for me, $1,000 for you, and we'll hire the guy from Missouri. Now that is the guy we're not going to talk about today, because he's not a nice guy. I'm going to start off right from the beginning and knock you out of your seats. Would you like that? Anybody want to fight? Get married. No, I'm just kidding. Luke 6:26, because I know you're going to look it up. So I'm just going to say it right now. Luke 6:26, and you know you will look it up. Here's what Jesus says in Luke 6:26. He says, woe to you when all men talk well of you. What does that mean? Woe means whoa. Woe to you when all men talk well of you. Now, why does Jesus give this warning? Well, if everyone likes you, then it means you stand for nothing. Sometimes we can be so open-minded, we are empty-minded. Yeah, I agree with that. Yep. Agree with that. Yep. Agree with everything because I don't want to offend anyone. This can be dangerous not just in your personal life, but in your spiritual life. And sometimes when we talk about people pleasers, it can be very, very important. Some of you may recall when President Kennedy made a terrible decision. Terrible. It was called the Bay of Pigs. Some of you may remember this. And what happened, I wasn't there, but according to history, that President Kennedy, as a young man, I think he's 35. You got to be 35 to run for president, made this decision that he totally regretted. Now, how would a smart man like President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, make such a terrible decision? Well, what happened is he surrounded himself with military men. That was it. Now, if you ever go to a surgeon, guess what advice you're going to get? Cut. Okay? That's why you need to get a second or third opinion. Well, President Kennedy did not get anyone else's opinion. He just chose to hear the military men. It was a train wreck. But President Kennedy remembered that. It's a good thing he did, because not long after that, a fellow by the name of Premier Nikita Khrushchev did something very bad. Now, you worried about this whatever that person is, the president of North Korea. President Trump worries about him. How would you like to be the president of the United States and Russia puts 90 nuclear missiles in Cuba? They're there. And you're the president. You're not dealing with, well, if they're going to. They did it. It's there. And they're coming in. 90 and Cuba's not that far. Some of you could probably swim it. It's not that far from Florida. So you're the president of the United States. What are you going to do? You know, you're going to start World War III? There was a little-known conversation between John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev before this all happened, right after he became president. And from Russia, they only are concerned about strength and not weakness. And John F. Kennedy asked him at a dinner, you know, if we ever had nuclear war, there could be 100 million people could be killed all at once. And according to the historians, Khrushchev said, so what? That didn't make President Kennedy feel very good. So here we are. What's he going to do? You know, this was a little bit more dangerous than you think. Well, let me help you with how this came about, too. You remember this movie, a great movie, black and white, called 12 Angry Men? You remember that? With Henry Fonda. It was a classic movie. You should see it. Henry Fonda, a great actor. And it's a jury trial, a murder trial. 12 members of the jury. They become angry because they want to get out of there and go home. But in a murder trial, all 12 jurors have to agree, or it's hung jury. So 11 men say the man's guilty. Henry Fonda's the only dissent. Henry Fonda said, we didn't even look at all the evidence. And the other jurors are saying, we don't need it. The man's guilty. Let's do it and let's go home. And Henry Fonda says, no. And it starts to get ugly. There's 11 guys that want him to say yes so they can go home. And the movie's about all this pressure on this one man who's trying to do the right thing. He wasn't worried about if they're going to like him or not. He was concerned about this man that's going to be sent to death. And so he stood up. He did the right thing, what he felt was right, even though 11 guys are ready to kill him. And it turns out that he was right. You know, the man was innocent. And that tells you the enormous pressure when we try to do the right thing. But the satisfaction we have when we know we did the right thing. When we can look in the mirror and say, yeah, good job, good job. So back to John F. Kennedy. I mean, this is a huge, we're looking at World War III. The military men are saying a strike, military strike. John F. Kennedy, he learned his lesson. No. All the yes men, I want them out. I don't want any yes men in my cabinet at this point. And he brought in people from different backgrounds. The future of America is at stake. You can't be assigned around people that are just going to agree with you because they want to make you happy. This is not how you do it when the world is at stake. And so John F. Kennedy gathered the men as advisors and women who were not afraid to stand up and say, you're wrong. This could happen if you do that. Advisors that were willing to do the right thing. And John F. Kennedy took all of their advice and he put it together and he made the final decision. And he looked at Nikita Khrushchev in the eyes, and Khrushchev blinked first. There's more to the story. We decided we'd take some nuclear things down from into Europe. But anyway, it's all worked great. And it was over. Although there is a little theory that there was some still left, but Khrushchev couldn't trust Castro and took them out. But there is a great illustration of why John F. Kennedy could not have yes men and yes women around him in important situations like that. Now, first of all, let me make it very clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting people's approval. If any of you played football and you're running for a touchdown, you hope everybody will clap their hands. If you want your parents to be proud of you, you want their approval. You want to do the right thing. You know, you may not get all A's, but you try and get at least something above C's. And there's nothing wrong with impressing the object of your love. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with getting their approval. The point I'm trying to make is that to do the right thing takes courage. Proverbs 29:25 says, "The fear of men is a snare. The trust in God is safe." But what's happening, the fear of men is a snare, is that when we fear men more than we fear God, we've lost our way. How many people here this morning are still wanting to get the approval of a mother, father, grandparent, brother, sister? You spent your whole life trying to get approval. I got news for you. If they haven't approved of you yet, let it go. Give it over to the Lord. Ain't going to happen. As a psychologist, I've seen so many, mostly women, who wanted to get their father's approval year after year after year after year. You have to come to the time when dad does not have the ability to love. And you got to let it go. Quit spending the rest of your life trying to get that person's approval. If you ain't got it by now, it ain't going to happen. It just isn't going to. Let it go. Turn it over to the Lord, but let it go. You know, all of you were young at one point, isn't that true? I'm not sure about Jamie, but we're all young at some point. Some of you are young at heart. I feel like a teenager inside. Sometimes I act like it, get me in trouble, but, how do you feel inside? But remember when you were young and all the guys decided to wear white socks? And so everybody wore, all the girls, bobby socks, they all loved that. And remember when there was the phase when all the guys had to wear their sport shoes, but do not tie them up. Don't tie the shoestrings up. Let them loose. Why would you do that? You did it because you wanted everybody to fit in. You didn't want people to withdraw their friendship from you. So you walk around very hazardous with your shoelaces. And then, what's this latest one? You have your trousers down below that area. Now, the cops love that. If you ever see cops on TV, they love it because they can't run. Their pants fall down. They catch them every time. But they're still going to wear that. And, wow, that's amazing. Peer pressure. If you have anything to do with a prison, prisoners in prison must just laugh because those kind of people in prison are different. They treat them different. But look at all the things we did for peer pressure. When you try to please everybody, sometimes you do not do the right thing. And sometimes you do the wrong thing because you want to please everybody. But what is the right thing to do? Now, we have some young men here. I will give you a piece of fatherly advice. Don't say grandfatherly advice. Fatherly advice is this. If you decide you want to date women, may I make a suggestion real fast? If you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to please women and being a nice guy, about 5 minutes and the girl is going to put you in the friend zone. So forget about being the object of her love. You will be her friend, but that's as far as it's going to go. Because women want men to be strong. Hear young men say, all the women, they just want to date all the bad guys. Well, that's not necessarily true. What they want is somebody that believes in themselves, that has the courage to say what they want, that's not going to say, well, where do you want to go? Or agree with everything you say. They want a man to be strong. You don't have to be a bad guy. Just be a real guy. And be a good man. Be strong. You have to have strength and confidence. If you're just going to be a nice guy, that's great. I mean, go ahead. Good luck to you. Would you rather have people like you or respect you? Which one? Yes. If you're a boss and you make a decision, is everybody going to like it? How many dads here, don't raise your hand, I'm going to make you feel guilty. How many dads say to the kids, well, you wait, and your mom, she'll take care of it. And then mom becomes the bad guy. Thank you, Dad. I'm sure moms love that, don't they? Model it. If you're a father, does a kid want to hear the phone rings, mom says, Dad, it's for you. Dad says, tell him I'm not here. And then your young son is listening to that? What kind of role model is it? What are you doing? Teach your children to be courageous. Have courage. Honor, integrity. Something we don't see much anymore, do we? That's what Jesus wants. And please quit lying. If my mother was here, she's in Karnak, Illinois, she would be the first to tell you, I never lied to her. And that's true. If I did something wrong, I just wouldn't say anything. But I never lied to her. She'll say that. I don't think I ever did lie to my mother. I just wouldn't say anything. But why lie to somebody? Why say, your wife says, the object of your love, whatever, says, well, how come you weren't there on time? Don't give all these excuses. Just say, I forgot, or whatever it was, but tell the truth. When the object of your love says, how are you feeling today? I feel fine. You want to talk about it? No. When you do that, you're just putting walls in your relationship. What women want from men? They want your time. Let the football game go a little bit. They want your time. And every time you shut them out, you keep making that walls thicker and thicker, and before long, you have pushed all the love out. Man up. Now, women, that goes for you too. Yes, women up. When a guy says, well, hon, I don't know exactly how to do this. Well, you should know. Tell him life will be easier for you. Don't wait. Men, we're a little dense. Guilty. Tell them what you want. Don't quit. Oh, I can't. You should know it. Oh, maybe they don't. It's the person you love. Tell them. It takes strength. If you have strength and confidence, and you're not afraid to make the right decision, everyone will respect you. They may not like you, they may hate you, but they will respect you. You're a nice guy, and people laugh at you behind your back. Was Jesus a nice guy? No. He was a good guy, but not nice. When the Pharisees got after Jesus, he didn't say, well, Jesus, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to offend you, even though I broke 632 of your rules. He didn't do that. He wasn't a bad man. He was a good man. He modeled what it is to be a man. Did he cry? Yes. Did he get angry? You bet. Knocked over the temple with a whip? But you didn't have to wonder what was on Jesus' mind. You didn't have to play, okay, 20 questions. What did I do wrong now, dear? And spend the afternoon of the evening find out what is wrong. Instead of just telling the truth. It takes courage to just tell the truth. Now, it's true that some women, maybe they even want to, but for the most part, I think women will respect you if you just tell the truth. That'll be on me if it doesn't work for you. Tell the truth. Do the right thing. It's very scary for a young person to do that, and I know that. I know it's very scary. And I know that if you see another person being bullied, and you know in your heart, that's not right, but you don't do anything about it. Now, there's 20 guys, you got to be careful if it's just you. There's only a few people in every school system that have the courage to really stand up. Only just a couple. And you may not be one of them, so don't put yourself in a situation you're going to get really hurt. But if it's something that you can do, or somebody's harassing a woman, man up. Be the knight in shining armor, but don't talk about it. Help them. Do it. Self-esteem. I want to talk about that. I've talked about it a couple times. I want to talk about some more. Self-esteem is not an emotion. It's a decision. Good people, nice people, good and nice, two different things. Nice people are just not honest. But nice people, they have other esteem. What Cody Pinnett was, somebody was dying and their life flashed before their eyes. But when you know that it's the right thing to do and you don't do it, how do you look yourself in the mirror? Self-esteem is your decision about yourself. Your parents may have said you're a bum, blah, 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 and you can whine about it, and well, I'm no good. But self-esteem means your opinion of yourself. What's my opinion? Well, I think I'm a pretty good guy. My self-esteem is, I don't whine too much, a little bit. But for the most part, my self-esteem, it's my self-esteem, my decision about me. I like myself. I do. But is your self-esteem based on others? Dad said you never amount to a hill of beans. Are you still going around like, I can't go to college because Dad said I like a hill of beans or whatever? You make the decision. How do you see yourself? But see, how are you going to make a good decision about yourself? If you're so nice, you just go along with everything. Whatever it is, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. How do you look yourself in the mirror then? How does this relate to what Jesus is trying to tell us? There is a young man in our country named Tim Tebow. When you realize what this guy went through in high school, college, professional football, people ragging on him all the time. See, when you watch a football game, there's certain things you don't get to see. The cameramen will not. I will tell you what some of the things you missed. Penn State University, that's a good school. So some Catholic tradition a little bit. Before the game, Penn State players will generally kneel before the game, after the warm-up, before the game starts, and they'll be kneeling there, and they're not thinking about what they're going to eat. They're praying. I have seen cheerleaders, a cameraman accidentally showed this. You're not supposed to do that. But a cheerleader from the other team went and was making fun of them as they were there. They're praying. Can you imagine what Tim Tebow went through? And yet he was brave, and he set a standard of what is right. And here's another one. he still took that vow of abstinence until he's married. Any of you fellows played football? Ever been in a locker room? You ever hear the guys talk about stuff like this? You guys that play sports know what I'm talking about. And yet he did this because he had heart. He believed in what he is doing, and he stood up for himself, and he did the right thing. It's been a great example of what a Christian athlete is all about. He has heart. A lot of people don't like him, but everybody respects him. How are you going to ask somebody to come to church? Now we're going on Pastor Al's agenda. How are you going to tell somebody about Jesus if you are ashamed people think you're weird? How do you ask somebody to come to church? You know how hard it is sometimes? I'll defy you to do this. I'm going to give you a challenge. Next time you're at Bob Evans or Cracker Barrel, and it's noisy, say, Jesus. Just say that one word out loud a little bit and watch what happens. If you say it a little bit loud enough, everyone will stop and they're going to look. Because that's one name that people will respond to. If you have the courage to talk about Jesus with not your church friends, but with people that are not going to church. If you have the courage and you pray, Lord, give me the strength, Lord. Give me the courage that I can talk about you. That's called the Great Commission. It's what every one of us is supposed to do. The Great Commandment, love God, love neighbor, world peace. The Great Commission, let the word go forth and tell other people about Jesus. That takes guts, a lot of courage. But Jesus says, if you are not ashamed of me on earth, I will not be ashamed of you with my Father. It takes courage to be a real man. And I want to tell you, you young men, women are attracted to men who have strength and courage. They are not attracted to nice guys. They have become their friends. But that's all they're going to be. You don't have to be a bad guy. You have to be a good guy. You have to be strong. You have to have courage to do the right thing. The Lord will help you. To be a good husband. To be a good wife. Let the Lord bless you. Be a good role model to your kids when they're growing up. Let them know what it means to be a Christian. We live in a fallen world. And the Lord will help you, and the Lord will bless you. Will bless your marriage. And so my prayer to you is no matter how old you are, to have courage, to do the right thing, tell the truth. Be a good person. Amen? Amen.